The people who say, I could run a marathon, but I don't want to. It's like, okay, well, you got to say why you don't want to. I know what it takes. I know what it takes to deadlift 700 pounds. I don't want to do it because it's too hard and I'm not hard enough. I'm okay with saying that. And the lack of people who are willing to say that is insane to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Zack Telander today on the Running Effect podcast. Today's conversation is a little more unorthodox than the average Olympian or NCAA record holder or high school national champion that I would normally get on the podcast. It's a conversation with a man who's been running for less than 100 days, but he's on a run streak, and I would say it's transforming his life and giving him newfound insight and perspective on it, and he shares a lot of that with us today. I love conversations with people like Zack. I talked to Zack about this after the recording, where I feel like I can connect on a philosophical life level, and I really appreciated that about today's conversation. This is the type of episode, this is the type of interview that you go on a long run and you listen and you're kind of third wheeling the conversation between Zack and I, a fly on the wall. And I'm really proud of this product. I'm really proud of this conversation because it was exactly that. It was a conversation. It was not an interview, and those are always the best podcasts. If you enjoy this one, share it with a friend. Let's blow this one up. Word of mouth marketing is the easiest way in which a podcast can grow. So if you could do that for me, I would be forever in your debt. Give us a 5-star review. It takes 5 seconds, and hit the follow or subscribe button so you never miss another episode like this one. And without further ado, enjoy this conversation with the man, the myth, the legend, Zack Telander. Zack Telander, welcome to the Running Effect podcast, dude. How you doing this morning, man?
I'm good. Got my workout in early, bright and early, and I'm ready to go.
I forget what day you're on, but I think you're approaching day 80 of running a mile every single day. How has this transformed your life?
I think I'm starting to notice the effects, ironically, now of my ability to withstand just the annoyance. So I feel like in order to make adaptations in training, it's just about being annoyed. Your body just goes, I don't like this. And you have to find psychological ways to withstand it. And running is so diametrically opposed to lifting in that way. Lifting, we lift for a small portion and rest for a large portion, almost always, exclusively. And sometimes you can mess with high intensity lifting. A lot of CrossFit does this, but you get to manage your annoyance and your expectation for annoyance. With running, it's all annoying. And then it's bouts of more annoying or bouts of less, but it's all go. And so I'm at this point in my career or running career, I think it's day 79. Could be. I have to ask ChatGPT like almost every day because I keep forgetting. I feel like I'm starting to get used to that base level of annoyance. So for me, I made that video on Instagram just being like, hey, my only goal is to hop from one foot to the other. So essentially not walking. I could go 3 miles an hour, but I'm running still. And my main goal is to be able to do that for like an hour straight. I don't know how, and that's what I'm able to do now at this point. And that is a base level of annoyance that I've kind of accomplished. And so now it's like, okay, I got to pick up my pace and then get annoyed again and again and again. And you kind of weave your way through this. So that's, to answer your question, it's like, it's been such a different style of training for me just because the annoyance is different and the way that I attack that. And so I'm just always trying to find like psychological hacks, and I'm trying to share them with people too, to be able to do this thing that like everyone hates. Like it's like, why is it? Why? I mean, I know why, but like the average American, if you just go up to them and say run, they go, oh God, no. And my thing is like, okay, totally valid, but like, I don't think you know what that means. And that's why I made this video on Instagram. I go, hop from one leg to the other as low to the ground and as lazy as you physically can. And then start kind of moving forward and talk with your friend. And you can't do that for 45 minutes. And like, watch, you just did it. Like, I have this run club on on Sundays now. I just did my first one last weekend. 7 people showed up. I'm going to try and get 14 this week. And that's the point. That's what we're doing at the run club. We accidentally ran 5 miles. Like we all got in one line and we talked and just went around the track. An hour went by. I looked at my fitness tracker and we did 5 miles. And so that's like, it's fun. I'm playing this game. I just gamify my training.
Why do you think people overcomplicate running?
Because they overcomplicate everything. You know, like Alec Blennis. Do you know who that is?
Name sounds really familiar.
He's a great follow, and he's a hybrid guy, but very good runner. I think he's right around 240 marathon to some 245. But he's like a stocky guy, so he's a hybrid guy. He's very strong. He's like always getting contacted and talking to people about who want to overcomplicate running. They want to, they essentially have paralysis by analysis. And they're like, something about zone 2 and zone 3 and what should I do here? And he's like, have you ever ran for 45 minutes straight? If the answer is no, like, don't talk to me about zone 2 or anything. And what the beautiful thing is, like, that's where I'm at. And I'm just kind of passing that point to now I can start playing with some like methodology, right? I think I saw some quote and it was very controversial. And this guy was like, creativity and like, and movement through whatever you're doing, like creativity and motion is like 98% of it. And 2% of it is like the ins and outs and the specificity and the technology and methodology. And he's like, and he's saying this for everything. He's like, you're just tap into your creative mind and move and watch as you can be successful in many different things. And I think that people want to do it the other way around, especially in running.
Yeah, something interesting for me, I'm 20 now. I've been running from the age of 5. And whether I was racing in kindergarten or present day as a 20-year-old, I know what is easy and what is hard for myself. And I think that's something that I've noticed even with my girlfriend when I go on runs with her. People who aren't, there are 2 things that I want to get your take on here. One, people who run but aren't fast in their mind don't think they're runners, which I think is the silliest thing ever. If you run, you're a runner. And secondly, this notion that to be a runner, every run has to be hard, I think is a trap so many people fall into once they start the sport, where I say you hate running because you view running as a punishment. You view running as you should be dead at the end of every single run. And I go, heck no. Like, throw in your AirPods, throw on some fun music, and run easy enough. I don't care if it's 15-minute pace. Run easy enough so that it's actually enjoyable. You're not huffing and puffing. And if you want to pick it up towards the end, great. But challenge yourself for a week to actually, because sometimes that's actually harder to hold yourself back than it is to actually dig deep.
I mean, bro, what I say is quit acting like you're something, because you'll be even more of nothing. Like, and I say this in music too. Like, I find solace in the fact that I am nothing. I find solace in the fact that I know that I'm not good at running. Okay, so whatever that subjective thing in my head of like good at something is, whatever that may be, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is my 2 legs moving. So I put in my AirPods and I just move my 2 legs. And then like all of a sudden I'm spacing out and I'm just laughing with myself. Like I'll laugh while I'm running. Like there is no good or bad. And if anything, you suck. So what next? Like, and I know that sounds crazy, but it works so much better for me. There's these guys, this band called Muscadine Bloodline. They're fantastic. They are wonderful. Like if you put on their new albums, they have 2, it's like a double album. and go for a run, you're going to love it. And they were independent for years. And in an interview, the guy goes, we always looked, it's a two-man, like a two-man group. We always looked at each other like we were never going to get help. So what next? It's like, oh, you're bad at something. What next? Because something has to come next. You can't just be like, oh, I'm bad, so I'm done. Okay, well then you're done. Like, fuck, well, what am I gonna do? It's this what next approach for me. It's just like, oh, I think the next thing for me is like I want to try to run 15K without stopping. I think I can do it. I'm pretty sure I can, but I've never done it before. Like, okay, there's no pace. There's no, there's no good or bad. It's just, that's the thing I want to do. And it's so wild that people can't do that to themselves. They can't tell themselves like, I'm bad. How fun. how amazing. I put up a reel the other day. I'm like, how awesome is it to be bad at something? Like, do you know how blessed we are to be bad at running? Like, are you kidding me? Have you ever had a lower body injury and you're like, you can't run and you go, oh my God, what would I give to run? Now imagine someone who like can't use their legs ever, who's bedridden, and you're talking to me about bad and good at running. Motherfucker, you can get up and ambulate through time and space. This is the coolest shit. This is incredible. Dude, so underrated part about running, by the way. You can travel places. You know what I mean? I could be like, oh, I want to get to my buddy's house. That's so sick. It's free travel.
I have a great story for you. So Ryan Hall, he's currently the American record holder in the marathon, which I actually think
also an author.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Is it now Hall or Holiday?
Hall. Ryan Holiday is who you're thinking
okay.
of. Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
If Ryan Holiday, if the Stoic guy was a marathon record holder, I would be like, what? But he does run as well. But besides,
he's an American. You said American record holder.
Yeah, American record holder in the marathon, and his half marathon just got broken. And the guy who broke his half marathon record, I think, will break his marathon record. So wow. I'm just stating that to acknowledge how successful this guy is. His dad formed him, coached him growing up. And in his book, I think he talks about his dad would coach other athletes, and his dad had a background in taking care of disabled people, just being around those sorts of people. And he would always tell his athletes who would complain about running or who needed to reframe their love for the sport or felt burnt out, he would say, and it's a very powerful example, but it reshifted my mindset on the sport a few years ago. He would say, go in front of your front door before you run, lay down in like a cradle position and don't move. And he goes, that's the reality a lot of people I work with have, who would die to take one step freely. And you have the ability to go run and to put one foot in front of the other and go explore nature and push your body. And it is something that you have taken for granted. And there are people out there who can't move at all, who are completely disabled, who are completely bedridden, who would love the opportunity to run, who would love the opportunity to even feel the feeling of, oh, I don't want to run today, but you can run. And that really hit me a few years ago. I was like, wow.
I say you have the ability to say no, and they don't even have the ability to say yes. So go say yes. Like life is way too short. It's way, way, way too short. Say yes to way more shit, man. It's wild to me that people see hard things and their first response is to fill the space of silence. And their second response is to fill that space with negativity. So if I say, let's run 5 miles, to the average person, they're going to say, oh, 5 miles? What? Immediately. Instead of ask questions about it, instead of be curious about it, they're going to say negative. Say they're slightly in shape, but they haven't run 5 miles in a while, or maybe they never have in their lives. What if they were like, interesting, 5 miles. I haven't done that. That could be fun. How could I do it? what way would we go about it? What pace? How do I do this? Imagine reframing the world in that second person's mindset and how much more fun it is. And it's like almost every bit of success I've had in anything has come from that reframe. People are bored, so they need to fill in the empty space with negativity. And it's literal empty space. So if you and I are talking and there's a silence, they'll get awkward. They don't like the silence. And how do they fill it? Something negative. And it's like, what if you just never did that? What if you just let the silence exist? Or you come in with some questions, some curiosities, some vulnerabilities. And like what I described to you, that the spaces in life and words and all of that, that's like music to me. That's why I write songs, is because I can fill spaces with curiosity, self-reflection, vulnerability, love. Sure, negativity falls in there somewhere, but it's like this gut reaction. It's this visceral reaction to fill in empty space and boredom with negativity. It's just a very, very, very human thing. It's ridiculous. And I think that a lot of successful people in this world, they do the opposite. They fill in the space with positivity. And it's not just bullshit positivity for positivity's sake. It's actually more vulnerability. It's like, I'm not competent. What next? What can I do to become more competent, if that makes sense? All of this whole thing is like the Running Effect podcast. Like, it's just a psychological experiment. Like, we're all doing the same thing. We're all moving our feet, right? Doesn't matter the pace. Doesn't matter how good you are. So then what else is there? Okay, well, there's a ton of dialogue to be had about all of the psychological things that we go through. It's just tied into running. Running's like the secondary part of this podcast. I don't know. I could be wrong about that.
No, not at all. I think the purpose of this podcast is to tell stories of those within the sport. And deep down, I care less about training and what shoes you wear, and I care more about how it influences you. And that's why I've asked the specific questions I have. I will say, in regards to the negativity thing, I think that as humans, whether you are positive or negative by nature, you will always experience negativity. What I've experienced in my own life is the power of stating negativity and then continuing. So for instance, it's really hot outside. When I go for my run today, I have no doubt that I'll have the thought, it is hot as balls outside. What matters is the thought I have after that. So I can say that, and then I can get low on myself and think about how sweaty I am and how hot I am and how I don't feel that great. Or, and this is what I generally try to do and genuinely try to do, is it's so hot outside, but wow, what an amazing occasion to push myself to be better, because I know that training in the heat will make me stronger. I know that it's testing myself mentally. I know that I'm doing something very hard so that when I get home, I do feel like I'm accomplished and did something really, really hard. And I think learning that distinction, there's a difference between people beat themselves up over thoughts they have, which I think is silly. We're all going to have negative thoughts in life. It's a question of whether you entertain them or not. And I think a lot of people entertain those thoughts and a lot of people don't.
I do this thing when I feel negativity. I like literally will call it like getting small. Get small. Okay, so like I remember I really wanted to qualify for nationals for Olympic weightlifting. And if for me, just as a background, like I'm not built, and I never was built to be an Olympic weightlifter, but I picked it up at 23 years old. And then I ended up qualifying for nationals at 30, which was like a big feat for me. It was crazy. And these are heavyweights, and I knew that I wanted to open one of these competitions. I wanted to open snatch at 134 kilos, just under 300 pounds. And I remember being so unbelievably nervous for that. And it's kind of like how I can imagine I want to do a sub 3 marathon, and I know exactly what pace I have to go. And that scares the living shit out of me. So when I feel that negativity, like I said, I get small. So I'm sitting in the warm-up room. And in weightlifting, you have to time your warm-ups because you go on stage and you have to lift. You have a minute to lift. And if I warm up and I'm snatching almost like 95% of what I want to snatch as my first attempt, and then I have to sit for 10 minutes, there, you have to be 2 minutes before your first, you have to be doing that warm up directly. It's very precise warm up. So I'm sitting in the back room. I'm nervous as shit. I got to snatch 134. I got to snatch 134. And I remember my coach looked at me and he goes, okay, you got to snatch this. You got to snatch the bar. Because you basically warm up, you go barbell, 50 kilos, 70 kilos, 90 kilos, 100 kilos, 110, 120, 125, 130, and then you go up and do 134. And I remember I go, okay, I have to snatch this empty bar right now. And I remember going, okay, I have to stand up. So I stood up. I have to use my right leg, left leg, right leg, left leg, right leg, left leg, grab the bar, snatch the bar, put the bar back down, sit back down. And everything that I just said, stand up, walk, snatch, that was my goal. So my goal was to use my left leg to take a last step. Okay, you accomplished that goal. Right leg, left leg. It's like I made every goal tiny. So then it's like, now my coach puts 50 kilos on the bar. I sit back down. Your only goal is to stand up. So I stood up. Your only goal is to walk up to the bar. You walk up to the bar. Your only goal is to snatch this 50 kilos the best you can. I snatch 50 kilos as best I can. Sit back down. He puts 70 on. Your only goal is to stand up. Your only goal is to walk up to the bar. I did that over and over and over again. And then I snatched 130 kilos in the back room and I felt incredible. There was no chance I was missing 134 kilos for my opening attempt. I went from being like a shell of myself thinking about snatching 134 to I sprinted on stage. I couldn't wait to get on stage for that. And so to tie it back in with yours, like, it's hot out. Okay, well, my only goal right now is to step outside, put my headphones in, and just kind of see what happens when I start moving. All of a sudden, you're 10 minutes in, and you're like, wait a minute, I'm flying right now, And you just keep doing small shit over and over and over again. And it's just such a great thing. Be small. If you start to feel threatened or scared or negative, get as small as you can. And you'd be amazed at how many wins you can stack that way.
You could explore many different avenues that would push you physically, mentally. Why running? Was it a conversation with someone? Was it an internal dialogue? Was it Austin and everyone running?
No, man. It was nothing. I was taking a shit and I was like, you know what? If I drop 10 seconds off of my mile every day, how long would it take me to get to 5 minutes? And I go, okay, if I start at 10 minutes and then I do a 950, 940, it's 30 days. And then I started and I go, day one of trying to run, that was it. From when I had the idea while I was taking a dump, I did everything I needed to. I washed my hands, grabbed my camera, got in my car, and I was running on the track in a half hour. So I did my first mile. It was 10 minutes. And then the following day I did 950. And then the following day I did 940, 930. I ended up giving up at 620, but my fastest I ran was 608. I'm pretty sure At this point I'm pretty sure I can go sub 6 now because I'm way better shape. But I think there's two things. I picked the worst style of training ever. It was so hard for me to be like, oh, it's 11 a.m. It's 100 degrees in Austin. Grab your camera and just start running a mile. Like, at a pretty fast pace for you and just see what happens. And I did that for 22 days in a row. And that's it. I think the main thing here is inspiration and ideas. They are perishable. And when they're hot, you need to think, is it free? Is it doable? Do I need anyone else? And if any of those things, it's free to do what I did. Is it doable? Absolutely. But the track's 10 minutes away from me. Do I need anyone else? No. So why not just go do it? Go do it right now. And that's, again, another reason why I've been successful in any capacity is like, if I can do something, I'm going to do it as soon as humanly possible. But the other thing was like, no, I did not decide to run. I just decided to do this challenge thing. And then I think because I picked such a terrible way of training that I wanted to be like, okay, well, what if I trained better? Would this be more fun? And the answer is yes. So that's why.
Most successful people aren't talented, smart, or lucky. They just acted while everyone else talked themselves out of it. I think it's one of my favorite quotes. For you, why do you think people wait in life and get inspired and they see David Goggins? It's like this weird gap where I feel like people's phones these days are like, it's just nonstop Hormozy, Chris, Goggins, and it's all great content, but like 2% actually apply it. It's like you hear Hormozy talk about working really hard, and then you keep scrolling and you keep seeing inspirational content, but you never actually implement it. And you could listen to 20 podcasts of mine, but if you're not actually implementing it in some thoughtful way, it's just entertainment.
Yeah. Why do people wait? It's a very simple answer. It's they don't know how to fail, or they haven't flexed that muscle enough, the failure muscle. I've been doing it my whole life. I've been failing at shit my whole life, over and over and over and over again. I didn't really know that I was failing, like it's like I've lost so many games. I played sports my whole life. I've lost so many games. I've made so many mistakes. Since I was born, I've been making mistakes. I've been doing the wrong thing when I could have done the right thing. But I did something. And every time you do something and fail, like it's a muscle. It's just easier to use. It's just like going to the track and like getting better at mile repeats or 800 repeats. Like it's a muscle that you have to flex, is to try things and fail. And failure or none of that should be in your vocabulary. Just doing something, right? And basically, your question was, why do people? What is it? They don't act, or they?
Yeah, they don't take action.
Yeah, that's it, man. It's like they don't take action because they don't fail enough. So they've built up this thing where it's like, well, I want to give myself the best. I want to give myself the most optimal chance to succeed. And which brings me back to my point prior. Who the fuck are you? Who do you think you are that you deserve the best opportunity to do the best? You've never done anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, why is optimal in your vocabulary? You've never done anything, so go do something. This happens so much in music, you wouldn't believe it, bro. A lot of musicians are incredibly talented, and not only that, like, they're savvy. They're not just like artists who are just like, I want everything. But they get into this mind trap where they feel like they deserve things or they expect things simply because they have something that other people don't. They have this ability to play music and to play it very well. And they think that awards them what they want, which is either money, status, both. But it's none of that. It's none of that. And so what do you need to do as an artist? You need to be something. You need to be recognized as an artist. So if you don't have any music up on streaming platforms, and you expect to get gigs and you expect to be recognized. Like, who the fuck are you? It's the same thing when somebody, wants to get the best program, endurance program, the best marathon, whatever, this. It's like, who are you yet? You don't even know who you are. Go find it out. It's free. It's free to go find out who you are. It's free to go. Like, ultimately, this is why running is just such a hack. It's the freest of free things. You don't need a gym membership. You hardly need shoes. And you just start going. It's incredible. It couldn't be a lower barrier to entry if you tried. So why think about anything else other than moving your 2 feet? And that's the reality of this whole thing. It's like, it's the same thing that happens in fitness. Music is the craziest delta there. It's just insane. Like, the amount of inaction in music is astounding, but the amount of inaction in the gym is pretty bad as well.
I remember in high school, competed at a pretty high level in cross country, and it was a similar feeling where I had to keep myself in check. I thought I was owed certain things because of how hard I worked, and the reality is, at the end of the day, you're not owed anything, and you have to go out there and get it. And the hard thing with competing and competition is running is an unforgiving sport. Sports are unforgiving. They're not fair. You can do all the X's and O's and you can still get beat by someone who got luckier or was more talented or had a better day than you. And I think the quicker in life that you can be at peace with knowing that you did enough and gaining satisfaction from that, that itself is enough. So for someone who's training for a sub 3 hour marathon, if you do the work that would normally be required to run a sub 3 hour marathon and you didn't skip the days, you didn't skip the sleep, you didn't skip the diet, and you run 3:01, you should still be happy, in my opinion, because you
for sure
did the thing. Yeah. I mean, you did the thing. And it's like, at the end of the day, I always think this, even when I speak to people who are literally chasing gold medals, like, well, why do you want it? And I think it's a way better frame of mind to want the qualities that come with that type of person. I'm not going to go run 4 miles today because I think I'm going to gain this fitness. I'm going to go run 4 miles today because that's the type of person that I want to be, and that's what I think fitness and running allows you to do, is it allows you to prove that you're the type of person who does hard things, who challenges yourself, who pushes your body. And that's why I think running becomes such an identity for people, to the point sometimes where it's problematic. Like, you're more than a runner.
Definitely.
So there's so many thoughts there, but I think just in the US alone, I think there's such a system of entitlement and such a system of, there was this story, Marco Langen. If you listen to any of my podcasts, listen to that one. Cutthroat. Dad left him when he was a kid. He's now one of the best runners in the country, like almost dropped out of high school sophomore year. Like, I mean, this kid comes from nothing, and he runs 100 miles a week and works like a full-time chef line job. And he was telling me in this podcast, he runs for Villanova. He's about to graduate. He's like, I work with these guys, in the kitchen who, are working 90-hour work weeks to send money back home to their family in Mexico. He's like, and I'm complaining about running 90 miles a week. Like, the hell? He's like, that's the privilege. And I was like, wow, that's such a good point. I think that if you're listening to this podcast, I can assume you have an iPhone, and I can assume you have running. Like, I can just assume certain things about you. And that's where I'm like, if you're listening to this podcast, 99% chance you're so well off enough that you should never be playing, he has this or she has that, or it's just like, accept your life story and then go from there. And honestly, Zach, like, there's parts of me that are glad I wasn't raised with a G-Wagon, because if I get a G-Wagon one day, I know I worked for it. Like, I know, the last thing I want is being handed something.
I think just, again, expectations are just the worst thing that you can have ever, really. But there is a very strange thing with the hyper elites, like the best of the best. where they do have expectations and they do have standards. And that's where, the toxicity of your actions as trying to be a champion runner is crazy, because like you kind of have to be a dick to people. You don't have to, but you can't. You're not going to ever be relatable to anyone. And you're going to torture yourself, whether you like to or not. Even the nice guys, like we all know about the Jordans, the Tiger Woods, like Steve Jobs, like all the guys that we mentioned who were known as dicks in certain spaces and flawed in that way. And we always have like that story, the whiplash story, and I still think that the really good champions who we know as good guys, like Steph Curry, I still think that they torture themselves. I still do. I think that there's no way to be a champion. And I'm talking, you can be the top 99th percentile in something and you're not who I'm fucking talking about. You know what I mean? I'm talking about, and especially in running, dude. Oh my God. That's what Prefontaine was. He was an absolute sicko, a bad guy to himself, probably a bad guy to others in certain times, And so that's where like expectation is a word that you might want to use. But outside of that, I try to stay away from that. The root of that word is expect. What are you talking about? Are you a prophet? You can see the future? Expect what? I mean, dude, you could get hit by a car. So the only thing is like your next step, literally, like your right foot hitting the ground and then your left. And it's like, that's it. Just take it and make it as small as you humanly can. And I don't want to be patronizing here. Like, I'm not going to give anyone running advice. I'm only just going to say what has made me successful in things in life has been all these things I'm talking about. The lexicon wars, or the label wars, if you want to call them. So like the hybrid athlete label, and what that kind of does to the psychology of people is really quite annoying from where I'm at, from where I stand, because I feel like I'm kind of circling like the running space and all that. And I was just thinking about this today. This guy, Ian Fons, he's a big influencer, and he gets absolutely massacred. Everyone hates him, and the rest of the Austin Go One More bros, right? The red hat jacked guys who, and then the biggest criticism that I see is like, oh, they're just shitty bodybuilders and shitty runners. It's like, okay, this guy takes his shirt off. Do you want to look like him? And all these people that I'm constantly getting ripped, I get ripped on by the way I look all the time, just because I'm not jacked. And these people that would rip on me saying I'm not jacked, they would look at Ian and they'd say, that's who I want to look like. Okay, so right there, he's better than 99.999% of you in what your aim is. And then I'm like, okay, well, let's peep the Strava real quick. He has a workout that he loaded just casually. It was like 6:08 minute miles for 8 miles straight. And I'm like, okay, you probably have a lot of people listening to this who can do that, I'm sure. But that's not average. That's not below average, right? 6:08 for 8 miles?
That's a very, very impressive workout.
That's advanced.
For anyone. Yeah.
Okay, so this hatred for, it's purely, again, we live in a era of like commentary and comments. The only currency that we see on social media that like just is everywhere and it's so massive is the comment currency. And it has to be snarky, it has to be on time, and it has to be controversial, and it has to be mean. And it's always, that they're ripping on the hybrid bros for that reason. So I'm just like, I just want to examine that a little bit. That's where I'm like, wait, this doesn't this doesn't really compute for me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Yeah, totally, man. I mean, we just live in a world of insecurity. So I feel like I got the most hate from adults when I said I wasn't going to college. Why? Because they went to college. So it's a direct reflection of what they didn't do. And so then they don't want to see me succeed because I'm taking a path that they didn't. Right. And so it's the same thing, I think, with some of these hybrid people is you have these scrawny runners who see Fawn's
or bodybuilders or the other end.
Yeah, sure. But speaking on the runners, like they see him do a workout like that and look really good while doing it, and then they have to break him down. And that's where
they
it's
can
just
move
like
the goalpost and be like, hey, that's actually not that fast.
Yeah. And that's where it's just like, let people state their goals and then judge them accordingly. Like Fonz is not trying to make the Olympic trials for the marathon. He never will. So why are you comparing him to Connor Mance, who's going to run 2:04 in the marathon in Chicago? Like Connor Mance would die in the gym with Fonz. So speaking of Matt Troy, who we texted about this morning, one of the lessons I learned from him, and I was 17 at the time, staying a few days with him, and I hadn't really lifted at that point. He had this phrase where he goes, I'm training to be hard to kill. And I loved that. And that has stuck with me, where I'm like, I want to be able to, I probably wouldn't survive, but go in the gym with you and hold my own to the point where you can show me some movements and I can lift weight to the point where you don't think I'm just some scrawny dude. But also go and run with, think of X-Fast, Mitch Ammons in Austin, and do that in the same day. And then we play pickleball that night and I beat everyone. Like that to me is like, that's a great vision.
Yeah.
I'm an athlete. And I think the problem is in society, we have gotten too specific, or the people who are specific judge the people who are generalists on a specific thing. And it's like, well, that's not their goal. And so why are you judging them on that? And at the end of the day, it's like, who wouldn't want to look like Fonz? And so you're lying to me if you said you don't want to. Like, I mean, I probably don't want to get that big because I would still want to be fast. But he looks objectively amazing. Like, what dude? You're insecure if you don't think he looks good. You're insecure.
The generalist versus specific is very interesting to me. I would definitely be classified as a generalist.
And I think it's better.
I think people don't understand there's a term like concurrent training or conjugate training. It was used in like West Side Barbell. They didn't really come up with this, but it's this idea of training different qualities while doing the same movements. So you have speed qualities, you have hypertrophy qualities, and you have strength qualities, max effort, repetition effort, and dynamic effort. And you can rotate through all of them to be able to maximize recovery between sessions. Because, if you're a power lifter, you could just max out all the time, but your recoverability from that is not ideal. So their thing was like, let's put in a bunch of different variables on how we train. It's similar to most things. I mean, running, you're going to do, I don't know all this, but like threshold, speed work, and then distance work. And then there's some other stuff in between, but you're going to rotate through and you're going to work on all those qualities. And I think in my life, music has always existed. So I've been playing music since I can remember. So it's always been in the background of my life. And maybe at one point in my life, music was in this background and then weightlifting was in the forefront. Or maybe it switched, or now running and weightlifting and these things. And it's like this undulation of intensity in things that you want to do, that allows you to be a generalist and a very good one to be specifically good. And I think that's important. I mean, it's an important distinction. Everyone loves to say, oh, well, you're shitty at a bunch of things. It's like, well, I don't think Ian is very shitty at looking good and running fast. I think he's pretty good at both of them. You know what I mean? You can shift the goalposts and be like, well, he's not Mitch. I mean, I literally ran with Mitch this morning, which is funny. He's fast as hell. It's crazy.
But even real quick, that's funny to me in Austin because I lived there for a couple months. Like people think when Mitch says, we're getting a niche Austin specifics, but I love it. he made it to the Olympic trials, and people go, oh, so is he going to Tokyo? And I'm like, no, Mitch is 10 minutes off of what the guys
Of like,
who,
yeah. Aren't they going 203s or something? And
I think
you know,
we're like 208 to 205 range. But the thing for you, man, is like, look, if you devoted the rest of your life to running, you could probably run 240 or 230, or I don't know what your ceiling is. But do I think that's worth sacrificing everything else that you could
no.
potentially be? No. And that's where, to a listener, if you are a high schooler who is making NXN, which is our national meet for cross country, yes, go all in on running. You're good enough. But I'm speaking to the people like me who didn't run in college, who my capacity is probably like low 220s if I like devoted my life to it. But to be honest, I don't want to look like a noodle, and I want to be able to pick up my kids and have my kids think they have a jack dad, and to be able to hold my own on the basketball court and pickleball court and all these things. Now, some people might value other things, but I think as a man, and again, I don't want to like be rude to specific people who are like specific, but I just think there's a lot of benefit in being really good at a couple of things, because even if you devoted your life to being the best at one thing, you wouldn't even be that good. Me, 220, I'm still probably placing 300th at the Chicago Marathon. No one cares about me.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's push really hard if you want, right? And then see what happens, but don't fault others for not pushing really hard. And I think so. With music, there's a ton of downtime. I was in the studio all day yesterday, and then I was in the studio all week last week, and there's no downtime there. But I'm not going to be in the studio for another month, maybe, and I have no gigs coming up, so I can songwrite, which I love to do, and I can practice, which I do as well. But that's only like an hour and a half of my day total, maybe 2 hours, if I'm like really, okay, what am I going to do with the other part of my day? Well, I'm going to hold up my camera like this, and I'm going to say, hey, like this thing that I was thinking about, blah, 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 and I put it out. And then people all of a sudden they go, oh, you're not really a musician, are you? You're like, wait a second. Just because I'm good at articulating and making content doesn't mean that I'm devoted to that. That's who I am. And we love to slot people into where we see them slotted. And I think so. I deadlifted 660 pounds. That was a goal of mine, was 300 kilos. And almost immediately somebody said, go for 700. Almost immediately.
I could have guessed
it was in the comment section of that, actually. They said, go for 700. You got it. And I have never said no quicker, because I know that I could get 700, but I don't want to because I'm a pussy. Because I don't want to do the work because I'm a wimp. The people who say, I could run a marathon, but I don't want to. It's like, okay, well, there's you got to say why you don't want to. I know what it takes. I know what it takes to deadlift 700 pounds. I don't want to do it because it's too hard, and I'm not hard enough. I'm okay with saying that. And the lack of people who are willing to say that is insane to me. You know what I mean? It's that last little bit that's huge. Like I'd be like, hey man, why don't you kill yourself for a year? Like literally move to another country and kill yourself for a year to run, to knock 10 minutes off your marathon. And you'd go, I don't want to, because that's going to hurt too much, and I don't want to work that hard. There's no shame in that. There's not enough people saying that.
It's like the a daily example of that is people who say, I don't have time. And I go, no. You have the same amount of time as me. What are you prioritizing or valuing over that? And I respect people who just say, no, I can't do that because I have XYZ, or no, I can't do that because I have to go to bed on time to get up for my morning workout. I respect people who do that. What I don't respect are people who say, oh, I just don't have time. It's like,
Right.
no, it's not fair.
Exactly.
And again, knowing when you state goals, what it will take to get there. So I take high schoolers or collegiate kids through this process a lot when I talk to professional runners. One of my favorite questions I'll ask Olympian, a gold medalist, is, can you try? I know you can't, but can you try to put into words how much work you've put in over the last 10, 15 years? Because I think there are kids who want to make the Olympics who don't actually want to make the Olympics. Because if you told them the amount of work they would have to do, they would vomit. They'd be like, whoa, like, I don't really want that. And that's where I think there's a level of like human naivety that I actually think is good, because I don't really think anyone, if I told you all the work you'd have to do to be a musician and be at the level you're at, you'd be like, I'm not sure about that 10 years ago. But I do think like sitting down, asking what you want, and then being like, what's it going to take to get there? And are you willing to pay that price? And if you're not, don't be mad when you don't get it.
Yeah, I would just err on the side of send it, dude. Just go. Figure it out later. Like, so much of me, because I'm older now and more experienced with stuff, I want to tell people to be, low, tamper all this stuff, like bring it all down. But it's like, my dad told me things that I would never listen to at 16 years old that are absolutely true now. And I would say, I've said to my dad before, I've been like, why didn't you tell me this? And he goes, of course I told you it, you asshole. You didn't listen. I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. It's like there's no, and sometimes you got to lean into that. Like, yeah, I'm going to be an Olympian and I'm going to kill myself at every workout. There's this thing that I've seen a lot of. Maybe, I don't know if it's people who are announcing their goals, and it's such a lofty goal that they almost demand respect for it. They think they've done something because they've uttered their goals out into the world. And that, to me, couldn't be farther from the truth. I think that for a lot of people, goals and literally uttering your goal can actually get in the way of your goals. There's this girl on Instagram. She's like, I'm an unathletic 21-year-old. I'm going to use my knowledge of, it was like kinesiology, to train to become an Olympian in 2028. Do you know who I'm talking about? Have you seen this?
No, but it sounds like every girl influencer.
Well, I mean, this one, she's like, I'm going to be an Olympian in 2028. And I'm unathletic. Right. And none of which, and everyone's supportive, and that's great. And because I'm even supportive, I'm like, that's cool. You have that goal. But like, I need to see you win local competitions. And then I need to see you win state level competitions or county or parish or whatever. And then I need to see you go to nationals or trials. That's how this shit works. What are you like? Talk about the Olympics. Go to the Olympics. Be an Olympic champion. Dream of it. But you better win the local competition. I mean, what the fuck, dude? That is crazy to me. Go to, I want to see that. I want to see you win against the people who are casual, because you're casual right now.
So funny because it's so true. I think Huberman's done stuff on this. I don't have a problem with stating goals as long as it doesn't take away from, he has the science around the dopamine you get when you state your goals.
Yeah.
As long as stating your goals doesn't take from the action, and that stating a goal, you're actually doing it because you know it will force you to a higher level of action.
Yeah, sometimes, I just don't know how to balance that. I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to balance that. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I should do it now. I have to run a marathon because I'm working with Garmin next month, and I only run 15 miles a week. And I did a 3:32 off of 2 weeks of training earlier this year. And I'm like, part of me wants to see if I can go run sub 3 off of like the most casual training ever, but I'd be horrified to post that because I know it would then demand a level of expectation on myself that I have to train to get there. What I get annoyed with is kind of like what you're saying is when you post a goal like that and then you never really follow up with the work and you don't really get the goal and you ride the clout of stating the goal. And it's like, yeah, I could create a whole 4-year series around qualifying for the LA Olympics. I'm never qualifying for the LA Olympics.
Yeah,
You know
no
what I
way.
mean?
Yeah.
I mean, something reasonable for me that I feel like I've stated, I haven't made a series out of it. It's like, I want to make running popular and I want to crush on the charts with this running podcast. And by stating that, I know that there's a level of output that is expected. And so I think it's riding that fine line. And before I get your thoughts here, you mentioned your dad in that comment. And I sent my mom this meme yesterday that I thought was excellent. Totally off subject. But the older I got, the more I realized my mom was right about basically everything. ... I just didn't like her tone.
Yeah, exactly. In the messenger. I'm not going to listen to the messenger. I see you every day. You're not important to me. But except you're the most important thing to me.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's the almost all of life is that kind of balance of, yeah, state your goals, but you have to back it up with work. Don't let the goals take away from the action. Don't let the goals become this never ending kind of reward system from other people clapping you for your little journey. Like, no, you need results and you need output at a point.
Dude, you need results. I always talk about the difference between discipline and motivation because Jocko Willink always brings it up. And it really frustrates me. And I have a take on it that's kind of opposed to his. Discipline and motivation are actually not two ends of the spectrum. I think people say, okay, discipline's when you're not motivated. You do it anyways. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and it goes. No, motivation exists every waking moment of our lives. Because if it didn't, you would want to kill yourself. You'd want to die. There's a motivation to live. There's a motivation to take your next breath. There's a motivation to take your next step. Okay, well, let's extrapolate that out. You know, Jocko Willink, he was telling this story. He goes, I did not want to train at all today, but I knew that I would feel better after. Okay, that's motivation. That's not discipline. You're motivated by the fact that you knew it would make you feel better. But discipline is important. Motivation is important. But it's like the thing about the people that are like, you know, the David Goggins and the motivate and like the guys that speak about everything sucking is like there is a reward system all the time. And that reward system is results. And if you do things for no result ever, well, that's just crazy. We do things for reasons, period. Reason equals motivation. So sometimes you might not have a pep in your step when you're going to your run. You're still motivated to run, just maybe less so. I don't know. It's just, I've always kind of hammered on this. These guys, they don't work for me. David Goggins, Jocko Willink, even though, you know, it's kind of my brand to do that, you know, this thing, talking to the camera, but I try to almost bring more nuance into that. What is truly going to get people to move? Telling them they suck and to be okay with that is honestly, in my mind, the way it's like some of the greatest advice I've ever gotten or could give to people. You know, not just say you gotta, you know, I love saying you should do hard things, but the reason why I love saying you should do hard things is because like you don't know if you're not going to be able to do them ever again. What's something that like I went to Japan and Korea with my friends 2 years ago. And I remember before like buying my ticket, I was kind of like, I know this isn't a hard thing, but it was a commitment where I was like, I really want to focus on my YouTube channel. I want to focus on my businesses. I don't want to leave. And then I remember being like, dude, you might never do this again. And it's a wild thing to think about. You might never be able to, or you might never do this again. I could run a marathon and to be like, oh, I'll do another one, but I'm gonna go do something else. And then 25 years later, I have no use of my legs or whatever. And I go, yeah, I kept skipping out on that fucking marathon. For me, that is much more motivating than just getting yelled at, if that makes sense.
I think for me, it even works. And I think there's some masculine urge to be screamed at and told that you can do more. But I don't know how sustainable or healthy it is. And that's where I have really appreciated the content that I've seen from you, because it is kind of unorthodox and it's a fresh spin. I've never heard that take on motivation, but it clicks, it makes sense. And so I definitely appreciate it. And the world we're just, no one knows what they're doing. And I sometimes reflect and be where my feet are. And I think the world we're living in today is so complex. It's crazy. I learned the stat yesterday, Zach, that the average kid spends less time outside than a prisoner in a maximum security prison. Like it just all feels fake. Like just the amount of time we're on our phones, it's just everything. I'm just like, what is going on? And I had this conversation with someone last week of like, it's never been so easy to be great. And unfortunately, I think the middleman is going to be cut out. I think it's going to be like you have people who are just utter savages physically, emotionally, spiritually, business, family, and then you're going to have the people who are deeply struggling. And I think that's the reality we're going to live in 40 years. And I feel like you have an obligation to be aware that that is going to happen and to start to move yourself in one direction. What are you doing every day to improve yourself physically? What are you doing every day to improve yourself spiritually? What are you doing every day to set yourself up for financial freedom? As much as I care about, my livelihood now, most of the decisions I make in the back of my head are for my future family. Like I want financial freedom for them. I could live on a couch in someone's garage if I really needed to. I don't think enough people are driven by we need urgency in culture today. We don't have that. We think we'll be around forever. And it's like, well, people who died yesterday thought that too.
Bro, that's the what next mentality. The thing is like, what next is only important if you do what you want to do and you found the systems that allow you to do what you want to do. And sometimes you have to make sacrifices for that. So for me, starting a music career, I'd open my eyes in the morning and go, what am I going to do for music today? And that's a really hard thing to answer in that space. But I realized I had to spend a lot of money. And that's a crazy thing. Most people in music are going to be like, how do you become a successful musician? And they're going to be like, oh, well, you got to do your socials and you got to do this. It's like, no, you have to spend money. Do you have money? No, you don't. Get a job. Then go spend it on music. Spend it on the studio. Spend it on promotion. And I learned that very early. And I've spent a lot of money on music to the point where I was broke relatively recently. But it's an investment in my future. And I think this urgency is necessary, but it's also dangerous, right? Because if you're urgent, the world and life and things are going to happen to you and you have no control over the pace of it. You said you're 20.
Mm-hmm. You don't know shit.
Well, no. It's more about like, there's certain things that you might take for granted that you don't know that you are until, you're 30 and you go, okay, I wish I slowed down at this point. But again, you don't know that.
Well, that's where I'd say you're married, right?
Yes.
So I think for me, I view life in chapters. And so I realized that running, lifting, and going to the sauna every day is probably going to be unsustainable when I have a wife and a kid or a few kids. And so I'm taking advantage of that now. I'm acting urgently with my health and certain things I can do because I know that I can do them. I'm acting urgently in my business because, in all honesty, I value my kids loving me over having the top sports podcast in the US. I just do. But right now I don't have a kid. And so if I want to work till 1 a.m., because I don't have a little tyke in the other room screaming who needs me, I'm going to work till 1 a.m. And so I think the urgency mindset is more for the people who have the privilege of being able to be urgent. And my life doesn't have to look sustainable or even like wholesome yet. And I think what creates sustainability down the road is actually unsustainability right now. And I was in Cabo. It was the only time I went outside the country for this like business mastermind. I was like one of 7 guys invited. You know Sahel Bloom. Do you know that name? So
I think so.
Good friends with him. He invited me. All these dudes are like multi-millionaires, so successful. I'm the only guy who like doesn't know anything there. And they all said to me, they go, because a lot of my language and verbiage around the running effect was sustainability, and I want to live a sustainable life. And they were like, you're way too young to have that word in your vocabulary. And they reshifted a lot of things for me. I was like, yeah, that's a good point. And I think how I will create the sustainability down the road is a sense of urgency now and a sense of I got to go get it. But it does come at a cost. I'll be open and honest. Like a month and a half ago, I threw up from stress. I'm like, okay, that's probably not good. I don't really want that. And so it's the balance within, I think, the urgency. And this is where I'm just like, life is so complicated, but it doesn't have to be. And just approach every day and do the best you can. And I think you'll go to sleep feeling fine.
Yeah.
Because we could go back all day on what does a life well lived look like, and what's the perfect day look like, and what are the nuances. And I love conversations like that. Get 5 guys around the table, and oh my gosh, that's my favorite thing in the world. Deep conversations. Yeah. But then I sometimes laugh and I just go, oh, it's not that complicated. Work hard, be kind, do the best you can.
You'll get a lot in that with those two.
Yeah,
you get a lot.
Yeah. Totally, man.
Yeah.
I am aware we could talk forever, but wrapping up edition 1 with you, I'll have to get you back on in the future. What's the final takeaway? What's 1, where's your running journey and career going? And 2, what's the final takeaway message for the listener?
Sorry, that first one was what running journey?
Just like curious where this is going to go.
I think I'm going to sign up for the Austin Marathon, and I think, which will be cool. I'm going to have Alec kind of coach me a little bit, and then he wants to pace me through it. And then for me, it's making the music that I know that I can, and being able to promote it to the best of my ability, which is more about like displaying who I am, the thing that I believe people will like, in the best way, so that it can get out. That's for me. That's it right now. That's my mindset. And then more important than any of that is my little baby girl, Charlie, who's going to be 8 weeks tomorrow, I think, or I don't know, 8 weeks old tomorrow, and my wife, and just being solid, sticking around, hanging out, doing whatever I can to be the best in both of those areas.
I love it. Final takeaway message for the listener.
All right. I'm going to see if I can do this off the dome. If someone calls you cringe, you know this? We did this, right? We did this real. Okay, here we go. I'm going to do it again. If someone calls you cringe, just say 2 words back to them. Keep watching. We hate people for not winning, not losing, but for trying. What's the next part? Okay, yeah. The critics, the people who call you cringe, they can only access their dreams while they sleep. So when they wake up, make sure they keep watching. That's all I got for you guys.
I love it. Such good words. Zach, final question for you. The question I ask every guest on every single podcast. If you had Gordon Ramsay coming over to your house for dinner, what would you choose to make for him?
What would I make for him? Oh, my goodness.
You're cooking.
I make my own barbecue sauce. I have this way of braising them in the oven and then grilling them on a grill. They're incredible. I've been making them since I was a teenager. So ribs.
He's a true Texas man. Zach, thank you so much for the time, attention, wisdom. Such a good conversation. Didn't feel like a podcast. Those are always the best ones. And I feel like we were just scratching the surface. So let's get it running when I'm in Austin.
100%.
I'll get you to your 15K or whatever you're looking for. And we'll stay in touch, man. Keep crushing it.
All right. I appreciate it, man.